Hi, everyone. This is Elias Martin, owner of CollectingJapanesePrints.com, welcoming you to Woodblock Wednesday, where every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, we get together and discuss Japanese woodblock prints and paintings or anything that relates to the prints. I've been very pleased with everyone's participation. It's very important that I do videos that address collectors or people who are just stumbled upon us. I really want to answer questions that people might have or introduce new things to people. I mean, that's enriched my life beyond measure, and so I'd like to introduce to other people things that I've come across. One question I received recently came from someone who never actually heard of woodblock prints, which is great. I mean, I'm really pleased that the videos are going out to all kinds of groups. And so if you like our videos, please share. Like them, of course, but share them so that other people get a chance to see them. And so a question I received, a week and a half ago was basically, what are woodblock prints? Are they really made with woodblocks? And how is an image printed from woodblocks? And so it's interesting. I mean, those are basic questions, but they're valid questions. And a lot of people, I think, take those kind of questions for granted. We just kind of look at woodblock prints and just assume, oh, well, there it is. It's a design that was printed with a woodblock. But, the actual process of making woodblock prints is extremely labor intensive as well as technical. And you have to be very precise, particularly if we're discussing Edo period prints or Shinhanga prints of the 20th century. Those prints were done with painstaking accuracy. The designs are really intricate. And so, there's artists like Jacques Allais who used 100+ blocks to produce a design. And so, I thought this would be a good opportunity to show the process of making a woodblock print. And I'm fortunate enough to have a book. It's a process set of a print that was produced around the Meiji period. And it shows how a print is done from the key block onto the last one. So what I'll do is I basically will aim the camera onto the book, and I'll just turn the pages and explain the process. So let's go to the table. So as I mentioned, this is a book, a woodblock print process book, published by a publisher as a presentation gift to a collector. These process sets are actually quite rare and were only produced as samples at the print shops or were given to very good clients. And so, let's see if I could do this with one hand yeah, I can. So the very first page is the key block. It's the block where the entire design, the woodblock matrix is carved out to lay out the entire design. So we see this almost like a page out of a coloring book. So this is, in essence, the design. And what they'll do is there are blocks that are carved to match particular areas of color that go into the design. And you'll see what I mean by that when we go forward. So, but basically, this is one of the most important blocks in the printing because for people who collect Edo period prints, this is how we authenticate prints quite often. There's a lot of reproductions or later Meiji impressions with changes to the blocks, and so we look at the key block and see if it matches known originals. In many ways, the key block is it's the fingerprint of the print. So moving on, this is the second printing, and on this book, you'll see the blue that's added to around the eyes of the peacocks, and on this page, you will see the addition. So there's also blue in the feathers. Now on this block, the yellow went over the blue in areas around the eye in particular, and so you've gotten green, and then of course there's more yellow onto the peacock feathers. So you're building up the image. So here we have green, and notice how the green has to be printed around the other areas that the green should not be printed over. So it's one of those issues of staying within the lines. If you remember grammar school where you were coloring, this is very much the rule here when making these prints. You have to make sure the registration and the carving of the block is accurate so that you get to see that all of the color stays in the particular area that it needed to be in. On this block, you may not see, it's just the blue that goes into around the eyes of the birds. Here it's the gray in the feathers. Here it's the sort of, that's kind of a peach yellow that goes in the feet. Here there's the green. It's a different, darker, richer green. And this is a gray that is overprinted the yellow. On this block, you see it's blue that goes into the feathers. Notice how intricate this pattern is and how small, and how the registration has to be perfect. Here is red. It's a color red that is around a portion of the peacock feathers. There's kind of an olive color there, more in the feathers. And here there is a very fine line work that once again goes around the eyes of the peacocks. I'll zoom in a little closer so you could see. That's basically a block that was carved out, and it's intricate, but it's not complicated. But the complicated aspect is being able to print it precisely where it goes on the bird. Some red. Now this book I have to sort of flip over because it's double-sided, so give me a second. Okay, so the next page, we have the gray shading that goes into the tree branch. More work that goes into the tree branch. There's an overprinting of darker gray. I'll go back. You see that's without the dark gray, and there's the added dark gray. Some more bokashi onto the feathers. Some more. Now, this is interesting. We see some blue. It's done beautifully with this bokashi, this gradation of blue from dark to light, and that's printed directly over the green, and it adds a really wonderful, rich texture over the feathers. It adds almost depth to it. Here's another area in the feathers where there's blue. Now this area was actually kind of a gray, going back and I'll show you. but with the blue, it becomes this rich blue. There's some more blue, and that goes into the feather design. That's a blue that's overprinted the green. I'll go back so you could see. That's not as intense and rich. And of course now it's so much more so because of the pattern that's overprinted. Now there's a really interesting bokashi, very beautiful, that goes over the feathers there. And sometimes it's nice to go back, so I'll go back and I'll show you. It's not as intense here, and a bit more. So it's a lot of work to create these subtle effects. Now here, this block, it's the background. And in this case, it's kind of an orange color. Ignore this sort of discoloration. It's actually oxidation from the colors. And on here, you'll see the orange in the background. And see how precise the lines have to be, where this area of the leg of the bird has to be cut out, and then the feathers. You'll see even how these little notches have to be there right precisely where they go in order to not have the orange over the feathers. It's really interesting how intricate this could be. On this block, you just see the red seal that's been added. Here you get more of the background, and this gray is a darker to lighter grade. Again, the term here is bokashi, this gradation from dark to light. And here you can see how the artisans beautifully blended this gray into this area where it's much lighter, and then the orange picks up. Quite beautiful. And again, I'll zoom in on the detail of the line. You see exactly how the gray lines up to the line. Very, very precise. Here, there's more gray going into the branch, so you also see the bokashi being used throughout the branch. On here, this block is actually really hard to show you, but they added silver or mica directly onto the outline of the feathers. You could only see it on this sheet if I angle it correctly. In particular light, see, I could see it there. But the point is, you see all of the work that was done to carve this one block just to add this silver mica onto the design. And this block, has to be carved precisely because the lines are directly over the area. There's a line underneath, which was the key block line, and this accentuates the contours of the feather. So it has to be precise. Oh, and then that's actually the last finished block for this design. So, I'm going to go backwards so you could see just basically it's going to be the deconstructing of a woodblock print so you could see the work again. And I will flip the book over and continue deconstructing. And then we're back to the key block. I mean, that's quite the journey. In order to produce that finalized design, I mean, we're talking about near 40 impressions of separate different blocks that were carved out. Sometimes what you see is it's the same block that's been inked differently to create bokashi, but the point is at least 40 separate blocks were inked and impressed into the print in order to get this finalized design. So I think this book is really neat because it shows you the process in making a woodblock print. And as prints go, this design is not the most complicated, in fact. There's a lot more designs out there that require probably 2 to 3 times the type of printing and woodblock carving. So that really should give you a sense of how much work goes into each print. And even though a print is a multiple, they're all a little unique in some ways, but also there's so much work that goes into each print. Even the printing, I mean, itself it's an amazing feat by skilled artisans doing that. So, I thought this would be a really great introduction for those who are not familiar with woodblock printing. And of course, a good review for those who are connoisseurs or collectors or who know woodblock printing, because it's always nice to see the process at work with different designs. So this was great. So if you have any questions, feel free to come back to me. So if you have any questions, feel free to address them in the comments below the video, or send me an email. A private message is fine, and I'm happy to answer those questions. And those questions actually are great because they are part of the process of making these videos. So if question that you might have might actually help other people, and so I might inspire me to produce a video based on your question. So it's been a pleasure to spend this Wednesday with you. Again, our video series, Woodblock Wednesday, is every Wednesday at 1 p.m. One other thing I should mention, if you're interested in learning more about Japanese woodblock prints, or you're a collector and you're looking to sort of enhance your knowledge base, I have a bookstore on my website. It's collectingjapaneseprints.com. And the bookstore now has about 100 or so books on Japanese prints. And I highly recommend having a few important books to become familiar with the art form. There's a couple really important foundational books that I have available that are very, very reasonable, and will give you an excellent overview in the art form. So thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And I believe next week I'll have an extended version of Woodblock Wednesday, where I will preview my exhibition that will be going up online very soon. The exhibition is called Bright Midnight, Nocturnal Designs or Nocturnal Masterpieces in Japanese Woodblock Prints. And so it'll be artists from all genres that are inspired by the midnight sky. It'll be a great exhibition, and I'll give you a sneak peek next week. So thanks for joining me. Elias Martin from collectingjapaneseprints.com, signing off. Thanks.